In the last couple of days I had many interesting and have read many interesting conversations since the last few videos, and this is about repro in World War II museums. People really seem to lose their minds just talking about it and can't simply let the fact go that some people have no problem with repro. But now I hear you thinking, you Dutch moron. Why were you concerned with what some randos have to say in the comments? Now that's the interesting fact here. These aren't simple randos, they are so-called genuine historians, writers and tour guides. So why would I waste my time making this video? Simply because some people can't handle the fact that I mentioned repro in my last video and they will automatically start slapping babies when they hear it mentioned. If you prove them wrong, they will start deflecting and making several alt accounts to attack everyone in the comments and me. All this because I mentioned repro in a 5-second clip, and let this sink in. I made several controversial videos about the Yasukuni Shrine and the adjacent museum in that area, and I did not get any death threats per email. Make one comment about repro and you and your entire family will be burned at stake.
Negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac over 2a.
That's correct. A girl answered a math problem. You know what that means. A witch!
But people are just forgetting a simple fact. Things are not meant to last forever. And that's the same for historical objects in museums. Sometimes reproductions are necessary, by the fact that some museums want to dress up a diorama or have to pack multiple vehicles, tanks or trucks full of equipment. And so not every single thing will be original. This is of course because of one simple fact: preservation. Some things can't be in the open air the entire time. Light and air will be detrimental at one point for some objects. So you have to keep light, UV blockers and temperature in mind. And after 70 years this isn't as simple anymore. These items have increased in value and it's like running an art museum at this point. But there are other things that people pointed out. Like every new museum that comes around the corner has to start somewhere. And to fill everything up, some things will probably be repro. And I find it funny that a lot of people can't grasp the fact that this is probably true. Mentioning that a museum has repro is something that they have the need to defend. And I find this to be at some level an oxymoron. Because if you have to defend a museum for having repro, even if yourself are okay with repro and go in my comments calling me names for pointing it out that a museum has repro and get mad about it, it already proves to me that it's a problem for you. Simply by the fact that you feel that I'm attacking the museum because I'm calling it out for repro. Because you see repro as something negative. So if repro isn't a problem, why are you going into defense mode? Me personally, I don't care. But for some people it's a huge problem and it's like you are talking down to this museum in a negative way or something. Which from my point of view, I really could not care less if it's a museum filled of repro stuff. What I really do find funny and was pointed out to me by a subscriber is that the museum in question was already selling off stuff for a long time. Many vehicles were already sold off and a lot of these spaces were filled with obvious repro equipment. So at one moment in time these would have been filled with a proper item. So for all you psycho purists out there, when you visited this museum 5 years ago, it would have had probably less repro. But for the last month it hadn't. I also don't understand that these people place the focus on repro so much and ignore the Normandy massacre the museum is adjacent to. And several other things and censorship I mentioned in my last video. I find it amazing to see the great work museums do to restore their vehicles. But you probably guessed it, there is a big group of people that actually have a problem with this. Where do you think the name Frankentiger came from? It's just a derogatory nickname for a beautiful restored Tiger tank that was on display in the Münster Museum. The Münster Museum still gets negative nonsense thrown at them for replacing the actual Tiger for a plastic Tiger one in their display now. John Phillips got the same hate for restoring his Stuke 3 with a post-war engine. He got so much hate thrown at him, he sold his Stuke 3 because of those idiots. He probably lost all joy in having that machine as a project, and we lost a great machine to look at every year, because it's now in America behind a paywall. Now, thank you, you bitter trash of fucktards. And that's something that really lets me ponder. I got a lot of comments for a 5-second clip. I can't even fathom the amount of nonsense John got for his post-war engine. So are these museums over-commercialized? This is something that was pointed out to me by a subscriber, because it seems that some only care about profit. I find this to be the fault with several museums, like the overrated D-Day experience, where everything seems to be a tourist attraction. I can see why people have a problem with that. These museums see World War II and World War I as a product they can sell. And I find this to be somewhat of a double-edged sword, because does it feel like a dirty tourist trap like the fake foxholes at Foy, or is it okay like the increasing tourism and interest in the Normandy beaches? I find with more exposure and tourism, more people become aware of World War II, so I am somewhat okay with it. And if more people have interest in World War II, through whatever medium they consume, it's probably a win-win. But keep in mind, this entire video spawned out of a 5-second clip in a top 5 Ardennes Museum video, where I mentioned repro. I really find it odd that people go bananas over these posts and videos, but seem to have no interest in debating actual historical inaccuracies sold to the masses. But like I mentioned, nothing will last forever, and at one point something has to be repaired with a modern method or item, and at one point things will entirely disappear. But that's the way of life, and I think for some of these people that aren't grown up enough to simply see things aren't forever, this will be a simple, stupid problem for them. But when you do realize things aren't forever, you can live a happier and better life. But that's pretty much it for this video. If you want to debate repro in the comments, go fuck yourself! It's as simple as that. If you want to thank me for my Dutch directness, go also right ahead. But I hope to see you in a better video next time. That will be never, because all your videos suck. Okay, I'm going to fucking close right now. You feel this.